These golf tees changed my golf game. What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda here. I have in my hand a golf tee, a standard golf tee. You've probably played golf with these. If you haven't, you should try tees. They're good. They are totally going to catch on. Not a fad. But I want to show you something here. I actually switched golf tees this year. I've tried a bunch of golf tees in the past. The brush tees, the pro tees, the lignum tees, lots of tees. But one tee actually led to a major improvement for me. So let me back up here, and I want to show you my driver head. This is what I was playing with last year. This is the Cobra LTD X driver. Great driver. I really enjoyed it. One of the things that's really nice about this driver is the milled face. It actually shows you after you hit where you hit the golf ball. I don't know why it leaves a little residue there, but you can probably see here in the reflection, you can see, a ball hit there, a ball hit there. And unfortunately, I had more strikes right here than I would have liked. As you can probably see, that is not really a great place to hit the ball. You really want to hit it kind of right here, maybe a little toey, a little higher, maybe you're like right there, but you can see how much more in the center of the club face that is. So that's kind of your ideal strike point there. So anything up here, even a few millimeters up, is going to end up being a bit of a high shot. And because of the bulge and roll, not only is the loft higher up here, so it's going to send it higher, but especially if you get up here where it might kind of roll over the face edge, you're going to send a sky ball up there. And I have had a tendency to do that too. Now, one of the problems that I have noticed here is that when I was taught to golf, and I think a lot of people do, and a lot of amateurs, we tee it up here so that the equator of the ball, let's use this little professional line right there as the equator, okay? So let's say the equator of the ball is right there and you're sticking this in the ground. We have been taught to tee it up so that the equator of the ball is lined up with the top of the club face. And that's because when you hit it, you are not hitting it right on the ground like on a regular iron shot or something. You're floating the club above the ground and you're putting the ball ahead in the stance, so the club should be on an upward trajectory, which means then you're hitting the ball right about there. Now, that is actually the theory of it, and in practice, that doesn't happen a lot. A lot of people have a downward attack angle, which is why they make high lofted drivers, and some people have zero attack angle, which is really where I'm at. Maybe one. It's actually really hard for me to get an upward attack angle, but nonetheless, I kept teeing it up here like I was hitting up on the ball. Now, a lot of my friends tee it up the same way, and I see a lot of sky balls. I see more sky balls than I see topped balls. I know that's a term that scares a lot of people, topping balls. I don't really see that as much. The time I do see that, FYI, is when people try to hit fairway woods off of the deck, off of the fairway, and they are trying to hit up on it and really hitting up on it, and then they top it there. But off the tee, I don't really see a lot of tops. I see more sky balls. Okay, so what I have learned here is that from my experience, I kept teeing it lower, and even when I was teeing it lower and getting better shots, I still found myself teeing it up like this sometimes, thinking, hey, that was a pretty good, I'm going to tee it up where I need to and deliver an awesome long-distance shot. But basically, what I found here is that if I tee it up so that the top of the golf ball is basically level with the top of the driver here, not necessarily the face, although that's pretty close, but if it's kind of like this, if I tee it up just about like this, I floated above the ground just a little bit. Again, zero angle of attack, maybe negative even sometimes, but let's just say I'm sweeping it, and I tee it up like this, and then I hit it just above the ground. That's a pretty good place, and that has actually generated much better drives for me. Now, what you're seeing here is a lot of that tee is in the ground at that point, right? So if I want to tee it up just like this, you can see it's really only about the width of my thumb that would be visible, right? So kind of the bottom of my thumbnail there is level with the bottom of the driver. So that is a long way for me to say I've been playing with a bunch of different tees, and I picked these up. These are actually called step-down tees, and a lot of people play with these because it just makes your teeing very regular. You push this into the ground, and because it has kind of this thumbtack base on it, right, the bottom flares out, unlike it does on a regular tee. So when it hits the ground here, this collar hits the ground, you kind of feel it, and it makes you teeing up very regular. Now, I want to show you. If I put my thumb right here, you can see the tee is right about what my thumb is. These are actually 2-inch tees. The bottom is an inch and the top is an inch here, and that's what I have found works for me. I want to show you here that if I put this right there, you can see the bottom of that tee collar and the top of my golf ball is right about the top of my driver, and this has made it much more consistent for me. And it's made me get much better drives, and it's actually helped me a lot too, because I will push this into the ground sometimes and I'll be like, man, that is really low, but I know that The numbers don't lie. The data doesn't lie. The experience doesn't lie. But sometimes when I get this, I think, oh man, it should be sitting up like this. And I just sky it. And it's terrible. And especially when you're actually playing, it could be in the fairway, but it's a 150-yard shot. And it's just a waste of a driver shot. So this just helps me put my ego aside and actually tee this up the way I want. Now, I still use these tees because sometimes I push these all the way into the ground like this for, teeing off in a tee box with a hybrid or an iron or something like that. But a tee like this, which doesn't really allow this, so you kind of need to carry both. You can probably push this to the ground, but it's going to leave a big hole. But something like this has really allowed me to be much more consistent with my drives. And look at that, Pete, you should be using a little higher tee, work on your swing. Well, working on all that, trying to get more of an upward angle of attack because I think, I should be able to get 10, 15 more yards if I could just get the spin down and the angle of attack up and my trajectory down and the loft on the club down a little bit. But until then, this allows me to get the most out of my game. And a bag of these types of tees won't set you back a lot. These are bamboo tees. I think they're wood. So I feel a little bit better about these. If I lose them on the course, they're going to degrade over time, probably not real quickly. You can get them in white if you're partial to white, but you can also get them in plastic if you want them to last forever too. So they aren't very expensive. I think 100 for $7 if you get them in plastic. I think like 16 bucks if you get 100 of these in wood like this. But something like this, I know it's a small thing. It's nothing sexy about tees, thinking about the type of tees you're carrying in a bag, but the tees like this have done so much for me. I highly recommend them, especially if you hit sky balls, especially if you are inconsistent in how high up you tee your golf ball. I think this is your savior. So if you want to pick these up, I'll put a link to them in the description below. Peter Von Panda, out.
We can discover more and explore so much deeper.